Hey, welcome back to week 7 now of our database development and design course. This is our Lab 6 SQL walkthrough. This walkthrough lab, we're going to be covering the rollback feature. So, rollback and commit, and we're going to be going over reviews. I have some information here available on my website. I'll put a link up to it. So I've got the lab code, and if you're not part of the class and you want to follow along, I've got the customer orders download that you could download the file to install it, and the link to the lesson on how to install an Excel file on SQL Server. But if you're in the class, let's just go over here. We'll pop over, and we are going to be working with our customer orders table, so you should have that in your thing. But just go ahead. You got the file number, open file. That's all we want is a file. And then we're going to go ahead into here, and we'll get Lab 6 and bring it in. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's just do a quick start here. We're going to go ahead, and first thing I always say, it's just worth it, put the use with your database name in there. If not, you can always drop it down from here. But a lot of times people get errors. Why isn't it working? Well, because you've got it on the wrong database. By default, it goes to master. So if I tried to run this with that, there is no table called that in the master. So it's like, hey, it doesn't exist. So click on this, and you'll see now your database changed. There it is. And now when I run this, I get it. Okay, so this is the file. It's the one we used in the very first lab. So what we're going to do is we're going to be doing some insert statements and deleting around just to play with it. So the first thing I'll do is just run this. This is a quick insert statement. You'll notice insert into customer orders. I didn't have to specify columns because I have enough. I have all the columns represented here in the values. If you didn't have enough values to match every column, then you have to specify where what goes, or if something's out of order. But anyways, with values, so we're going to be adding these 3 rows. 1, 2, 3. Remember, each segmented area, each thing within parentheses, this makes up an entire record or row. So just run this. And now when you run this here, you're going to find, when you look down, and if I can get my screen to look down for you here, but now you'll see you've got 1,500 and all those in there. Okay, let's try. Maybe I'll try to keep the screen this way so you can see it. All right, so again, this was just the select, make sure you saw it. So now I want you to try using the begin transaction here. So watch this. We're going to use, this is the rollback feature. So start with begin transaction. And now go ahead, I want you to delete from customer orders where 1502 is. So we're going to delete from customer orders where order ID is 1502. Now let's go ahead and we'll do the select statement again and look down, and notice 1501 is the last one of our records. But because we started the begin transaction, we still have the capability of issuing a rollback. So when we issue a rollback, now when we do this again and we look, 1502 is back there. Okay, so that's how rollback works. You have to have but if you do not start with this, if you did not put begin transaction in first, when you try to roll back, it's going to fail. You cannot roll back. So I could point out here that once this happens again, we're going to try with a commit statement now. So we're going to do the same thing here. Just going to bring this over. I'm just going to bring the whole thing. I'll just copy all of these. Go down to question 6 here. Oops, I forgot the most important part, which is before we do this, we want to put in begin transaction. Remember, you have to do this each time. This has to always, or otherwise it doesn't work. So then we go ahead, we do this again, I execute. $1502 is now gone. Now if I issue the command commit, and then I run our select again, 1502 is gone. Okay. Now if I tried using my rollback, I can't there's no transaction. I can't roll back a transaction because once I've committed, so you begin the transaction with this statement, you do whatever's in the middle you want to do. Then once either a rollback or a commit has been issued, that's the end of that transaction. So if you want to continue to do more work, you have to begin another transaction. Okay, so, but that's the most important thing. So remember, rollback brings you back, commit, but before you do anything, before you insert, especially before you delete or update or change something, think about that. Do it with the rollback, okay? So in this next statement, I want you to use question 2 as a guide. So we're just going to grab this. That's all we want. We just want the first. We're going to just put in one order, and we're going to make this 1600. And then we'll just add a select star from test orders. And put a semicolon so it knows this is 2 separate statements I'm making here. Otherwise, that would crash. There you go, 1600's there. If I try rolling back, not going to work. But we're going to go up here, we're going to try this again. And now we are going to add one called 1601. But before that, we're going to do a begin transaction. Okay, so begin transaction. And remember, begin transaction has to end with a semicolon too. So then we're just going to go here. I'm not going to run the rollback yet. I'm just going to execute that. 1601 is there. Now, if I try a rollback, which is the next question here, so we're just going to go here. Going to roll back, and then we'll do another select and see what happens. Now when we go back there, 1601 is gone. So the rollback can work both in a delete. It can give you back what you deleted. It can also undo an insert. So stuff like that. Okay. So that's it for that one. So that's the rollback and commit. So just always remember that once you've issued either a rollback or a commit, that transaction's over. So if you want to continue on, you have to create a new transaction. And you cannot use rollback or commit if you do not put the begin transaction in first. All right. So we're going to go here, and I want you to turn this query into a view. So this is pretty simple. This is a query we'd made in an early joins thing. So we're going to create view as second. We're just going to create view, give it a name. So we'll just call this one, I'm just going to call this one first view, just for fun. First view as, now we've got this here. We're going to put parentheses around this. Okay. Whoops. Sorry, my typos are a little goofy. Okay. All right. So we're going to create view first as, and then we just have this single view, which if we wanted to run it first, just if you're curious, people won't remember this one. So that's what this returns. So now we're going to run this create view statement here. Ignore, sometimes SQL Server gets buggy. It's looking around at everything and it doesn't realize that, hey, it's fine. But so sometimes the errors don't really mean anything to you. You got to try them for yourself. So anyway, we created this first view. And now, remember, we can now use a view just like we do with that query. So now I can say select from first view. And it's going to return the same thing I got by running this whole thing for itself. So instead of writing that again every time, I can just do it from a first view. And you can treat views these just like you would any other query. So if I wanted to, where the subject does not start with G, I'm going to say where subject does not Remember, we have to use, because we're using a wildcard, we use the like. So we can't just use the does not equal to, which I almost tried to do there by accident. And go ahead, run this, and you'll get everything. So the subject's gone. So if you look back here, if you just ran this chart, you'd see you had geometry was the first thing here. Now when I run this, boom. All right, so the bonus question. Run a query from the view you created where the tutor name does not end in B. Well, one thing I want you to notice cool about this view here is, you remember we aliased these titles up here? Notice that's the actual name in the view. In fact, if you go over here to the view, if you look over here in your database, you could hit your views. And you can see here's the view I created, first view. When I look at it, I look at columns. The column names are actually tutor name. It's not just tutor or tutor, whatever it was, name. So keep that in mind. You have to go by that. And because there's the space when you do it, so if I want to say select star from first view, which by the way, I don't have actually this for you if I have it. Okay, where, and I want to say tutor name, there it is. Notice what happens. It has to be in these brackets because there's a space in there. Okay, and we does not end, so we want not like and end. So we're going to just put the wildcard up front and ends in letter B. So that should get rid of our friend Bob here. So when I run this, and Bob's gone. All right. Well, thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you in the next class. All right. See you again.